Highway 60 west of Seneca, Missouri. IndigoSkyCasino.com for promotion details.
3 suspects in the murder of a Lamar, Missouri man are indicted in connection with an Oklahoma murder. Plus, the Missouri Department of Education releases its guidelines for a safe return to school. And the journey begins for a group of future doctors at KCU Joplin.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
3 men already charged with murder in the shooting death of a Southwest Missouri man are now indicted in connection with a northeastern Oklahoma murder. This is KOAM News at 10. Trey Ackerson, David Morris, and Lane Bronson are among 11 people now charged in connection with the kidnapping and death of Osage Nation resident Jolene Walker Campbell. Ackerson and Bronson are 2 of 4 suspects charged Friday. Campbell's body was discovered in Mayes County, Oklahoma in July of 2020. According to the indictment, the defendants suspected that Campbell was a federal informant. Prosecutors in Barton County, Missouri had already charged Morris, Ackerson, and Bronson for the shooting death of Terry Harless in Lamar, Missouri. That murder also occurred in July of last year. Authorities were called to a home on the 700 block of Broadway in Lamar for a report of shots fired. When they arrived, they found Harless's body. The 3 suspects are charged with second-degree murder in connection with Harless's death. Checking in with Doug Hetty. The heat is on, Doug.
Yeah, it's been hot for the past several days. We've been into the 90s. Plus, the humidity has been kind of high. So on top of the heat, we're getting those wonderful heat indices. 93 today. Normal high is 91 degrees. We started at 72 during the morning hours. We've watched a few isolated little thunderstorms in our far western counties, far southwestern counties. Most of us have been dry. These are dying out due to loss of the heating of the day, if you can believe that or not. But just a few isolated storms out to our south and to our west. Still fairly warm. Most of us 80 to about 82 degrees. In fact, we still have a heat index. It feels like upper 80s to near 90 degrees across the region. Our temperatures will continue to drop back tonight to about 74 degrees, 82 by 10, near 90 by noon, high temp 94 degrees once again tomorrow. The big question is, how long will the heat stick around? We'll look at that here in a bit.
See you then. The push is on to get more Americans vaccinated against the coronavirus after the nation's top infectious disease expert warned the U.S. is moving in the wrong direction. Today, more government entities impose new vaccine mandates as cases of the illness surge. Elise Preston has more.
Individuals' choice not to get vaccinated is now impacting the rest of us in a profound and devastating and deadly way.
California says all government employees must get vaccinated or undergo weekly COVID-19 testing. New York City's 300,000 municipal workers face the same mandate.
This means everybody. This means obviously everyone who works in our schools, our educators and staff. It means the NYPD, the FDNY. It means all city agencies.
And the Department of Veterans Affairs becomes the first major federal agency to require its healthcare workers be vaccinated.
In the tug of war between vaccines and the variants, we should continue to bet on vaccines.
On Monday, more than 50 health organizations, including the American Medical Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics, called for all healthcare workers to be required to get vaccinated. Cases are surging coast to coast, driven by the Delta variant. Florida now accounts for 1 in 5 new cases nationally.
Just doesn't feel like things are under control here, and I just don't know what's going to happen now that the numbers are rising.
Hospitalizations have more than doubled in Louisiana over the last 10 days, and in Arkansas,
I think a lot of people are scared.
The owner of an Arkansas pharmacy says she's seen a dramatic increase at the number of people coming in for vaccinations over the past 2 weeks. So far, 41% of eligible Arkansas residents are fully vaccinated. The national average is 49%. Elise Preston, CBS News.
The CDC estimates that more than 97% of patients who've been hospitalized with COVID-19 since January have not been vaccinated. The Missouri State Department of Education releases new guidance ahead of the upcoming school year. Many of the recommendations mirror those put out by the CDC earlier this month. They include promoting vaccinations, requiring masks for unvaccinated students, and social distancing. But largely, local districts will have the final say, including on how policies differ between vaccinated and unvaccinated students.
We educate students all the way down to 3 years old, and from 3 to 12, there is not, or 3 to 11, there's not a vaccine available. We have that dynamic at the lower grades versus the upper grades where it's more about mask, no mask. We've got a few challenges still to work through.
Cummins hopes to have a plan finalized by August 9th so that after the board meeting on that day, parents can review the plan. Something they'll have to address is the mandate from the CDC that everyone on school buses wear masks. Anyone who's worked in the medical field knows it can be tough, especially over the past year, as new doctors and nurses have entered the workforce during a global pandemic. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with Kansas City University Joplin students about why the need for medical professionals, especially in rural areas, is greater now than ever.
Second-year Kansas City University students at the Joplin campus are officially being recognized as future doctors at the university's white coat ceremony.
Today is the class of 2024. The reason we're doing this ceremony is when they procure their white coats, they represent moving into the clinical realm of taking care of people.
The coat represents the integrity, trust, esteem, and regard for the profession. And the university says these students are needed now more than ever.
The Joplin campus was opened with the hope of acquiring future healthcare providers for the region. We recognize that not only are there shortages of primary care physicians, but there's really a need for dentists as well.
According to the CDC, rural healthcare infrastructure is limited. Since 2005, 170 hospitals have closed and 700 more are currently at risk of closure. Many rural hospitals have a limited number of hospital beds, ICU beds, or ventilators, which can affect their ability to treat patients with COVID-19. Rural residents seeking care must often travel long distances to reach hospitals, healthcare facilities, and clinical specialists. It's why medical students like second-year Louisa Amarage want to pursue the career field.
Having to start school during a pandemic, I feel as student doctors, we are needed now more than ever.
She says her desire to help the public is inspired by her family's Nigerian roots.
Coming from Nigerian background, I've just heard a lot of horror stories about poor access to medicine and the effects. So it just really made me feel as though that I wanted to pursue medicine and be able to help underserved or underrepresented communities.
Not only did these students take a huge step by working to join the medical field, they decided to do so at the start of a global pandemic. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
162 students received their white coats today. The Berry County, Missouri Health Department is closed until further notice. A post on the department's Facebook page says it's due to an increase in COVID-19 cases. The county says WIC recipients will receive a call from department officials to complete their appointments. People seeking all other services should contact neighboring health departments. And those who want a COVID test, they should contact their doctor or a neighboring health department. Still ahead, an update on construction at the Construction is in full swing at the Joplin Regional Airport. Federal funds are paying for a rebuild of the airport's main runway. The $14.5 million project is 100% paid for through CARES Act funding. Work started Thursday, scheduled to continue until next Monday. During that time, the airport will be closed, though airport manager Steve Stockham says work is ahead of schedule. A bipartisan group of senators negotiating the infrastructure bill agree that they're close, but the timeline for a deal is still up in the air. The holdup remains how to pay for some of the items in that $579 billion bill. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer wants this bill to be done before the Senate takes a 5-week break beginning August 9th. Both sides say they're optimistic. For the first time, President Biden met face-to-face with his Iraqi counterpart to discuss the status of the U.S. forces 17 years after Operation Iraqi Freedom began. U.S. troops withdrew in 2011, only to return 3 years later to help with the fight against ISIS, which continues to pose a threat. In an interview with the Associated Press, the Iraqi prime minister said his country no longer needs U.S. combat troops to fight the Islamic State, but he stressed a continued need for U.S. training, logistical support, and military intelligence.
I'd like to thank the American people on behalf of all Iraqi people. Today our relation is stronger than ever.
The president says his administration is sending 500,000 COVID vaccine doses to Iraq in a couple of weeks. The Iraqi prime minister is expected to stay in Washington for 3 working days and also plans to meet with members of Congress. In Potomac, Maryland, just outside of D.C., some students designed a life-saving invention. Reporter Chip Reed has that story.
When Phoenix King was born 4 months ago, his parents, Jeremy and Chelsea, faced a difficult road ahead.
My husband Jeremy had brain surgery just over 3 years ago to remove a brain tumor, which left him with some physical challenges, some physical disabilities.
One big question, how could he safely take Phoenix for a walk? Chelsea, a teacher at Bullis, a private school in Maryland, contacted the head of the school's technology lab. He presented the challenge to his students, including Jacob Zlotnitsky and Ibenka Espinoza, who both hope to study astrophysics in college.
What was the best part about coming up with this design and seeing that it worked?
Just seeing the smiles on their faces.
And the relief that, oof, it worked.
The We Stroll, as they call it, won 2 international design awards.
Pull it nice and taut.
This is really secure.
Yes, and I think they dumped a bunch of cinder blocks in it and actually, weight tested it at the school a couple times, which I think the kids were really into.
For Jeremy, it's a godsend.
I never thought I'd be able to do something like this safely. I feel wonderful. I feel ecstatic.
Ecstatic over the simple pleasure of taking a stroll with his family. Chip Reed, CBS News, Potomac, Maryland.
Later, the Joplin Outlaws are playing in the postseason. Highlights from their wild card matchup with Jeff City Renegades in sports.
Plus, it gets even. Well, it turned out to be a hot Monday for us today. Of course, we've been heating up over the past couple days. Really, most of July hasn't been that bad. Of course, it's summer, it's been warm, it's been humid. But since last Friday, that's when we have climbed back into the 90s and gotten above our average high for this time of the year. We're going to stay hot and humid as we go through the next couple days. Started out sunshine. We had the cumulus clouds during the afternoon, even a few isolated thunderstorms in our western, southwestern counties, but a great time lapse. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, this week, staying hot, stays humid, mainly dry. We do get some changes in here by the weekend, which is always good to see. And you can always get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, temps right now, most of us 80 to about 82, so it's still warm. We'll drop back about another 7, 8 degrees, and we still have a heat index. Still feels like 85 to 90 degrees outside. It's after 10 o'clock, which is kind of crazy. Clear skies up top. Currently sitting at 81 east. Northeasterly winds are light. Relative humidity is at 79%. Heat advisories in effect tomorrow and really the next several days. This is most southwestern Missouri, sliver of Kansas, northeastern parts of Oklahoma. The reason we have the heat advisory is because our temperatures are high enough with high enough humidity that you get those high heat indices and it becomes dangerously hot across the region. So if you are going to be outside, anywhere from about 2 p.m. until about 6 p.m. you want to make sure you drink plenty of fluids. Not much on the radar now. We had a few isolated little thunderstorms in northeastern parts of Oklahoma, and that is just about it. Now that we've lost the heating of the day, these storms are pretty much gone, and they're going to stay gone throughout the overnight hours. These kind of formed a weak little boundary. We're right along a weak little boundary to our south that's going to lift to our north tomorrow, so we'll get southerly winds back, plus high pressure building out across eastern parts of New Mexico, and that's really going to control our weather as we go through the next 4 or 5 days. So let's break it down for you tonight. Mid-70s. We heat up, sunshine in the morning, cumulus clouds in the afternoon, hot, humid once again. 1 or 2 isolated little guys will pop up again tomorrow afternoon. 74 to start, 89 by noon, high temp and 94 degrees. Tomorrow night, we do the same thing. Clear skies, mid-70s. So let's go into Wednesday morning. We start in the mid-70s, heat up again Wednesday afternoon, right back into the mid-90s for afternoon highs. Plus our heat indices, they're going to be up there 100 to about 105 tomorrow afternoon. Same thing on Wednesday, about 100 to 105, maybe even pressing 110 on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side. So this is dangerous heat. You want to be careful if you are going to be outside during the hottest part of the day. Do we have any changes? Not Thursday, hot and humid. We can go to Friday, not Friday. We can go into Saturday. You can see storms starting to get a little bit closer to us. Finally, by Sunday, we'll get a front that drops through, and that will start to change things a little bit early next week. So we're going to do alert days the next 4 days because we'll be under heat advisories. 94 tomorrow, 95 Wednesday, 96 Thursday, 97 on Friday.
By this weekend, we'll be ready for some rain chances.
Yeah, we'll need the rain, and the 80s on Monday will be nice too.
You bet. Thanks, Doug. With the heat index reaching dangerously high levels for now, the city of Joplin announces it's opening cooling centers. Centers are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Cooling centers are located at City Hall, the Joplin Health Department, the Public Safety Center, and the Joplin Athletic Center. California's largest wildfire is growing after destroying more than a dozen homes over the weekend. After nearly 2 weeks, the Dixie Fire north of Sacramento is still just 21% contained. It's one of more than 80 wildfires burning in 11 western states, forcing nearly 8,400 evacuations. The bootleg fire is now the third largest ever recorded in Oregon, while destroying nearly 70 homes. Wild weather also hit around the globe over the weekend. Many countries experienced severe flooding and deadly landslides. Parts of Europe, including Belgium and England, got drenched as streets became flooded. And a typhoon in China is flooding entire provinces and has killed dozens so far. Monsoon rains in India have killed more than 130 people and triggered landslides. Coming up in sports, big changes ahead for the Big 12. Plus, the Joplin Outlaws hit the field for a home playoff game against.
Well, the regular season is over and it's playoff time for the Joplin Outlaws. The Outlaws are at home tonight in the Mink League South Division wildcard game, hosting the Jeff City Renegades. Now, the winner of this one moves on to face the Sedalia Bombers tomorrow night in the divisional championship. At the top of the first, Christian DeJesus gets the strikeout on the mound for Joplin. More from him in a moment. Bottom of the inning, Outlaws strike first, Ethan Ellis. He drives in 3 tonight. This one gets down in center. Drake Angeron scores the game's first run. Now, moments later, runners on the corners for Joplin. Ellis takes off for second, draws the throw. Caleb Fearstake beats the throw back to the plate. Joplin out to a 2-0 lead. Back to DeJesus, 7 strikeouts tonight, ties an Outlaws single-season record with 52 this summer. Joplin moves on to the divisional championship, beating Jeff City 5-3. The Kansas City Royals have had a bit of a disappointing season. However, since the All-Star break, they've been pretty good. Kansas City's on a 5-game winning streak, and at 6-2, they have the best record in all of baseball since the break. Now tonight, the Royals are at home, kicking off a 4-game series against the division rival White Sox. That one is final. Now they won 6 in a row. The Royals take it 4-3. Jorge Soler goes 2 for 4 with 2 solo home runs. Well, after a week of rumors, today it's a reality. Oklahoma and Texas are on their way out of the Big 12. Two schools released a joint statement today notifying the league they will not be renewing their grants of media rights after they expire in 2025. Now, there is a possibility of the two schools leaving earlier than 2025 if they opt to pay a roughly $75 million penalty, according to Big 12 bylaws. Now, OU and Texas are expected to seek membership in the SEC. The SEC would need 11 of its 14 presidents and chancellors to agree to officially invite the two schools into the league. The Big 12 released a statement this afternoon saying the member schools are, quote, disappointed in the decision from OU and Texas. The conference lost Nebraska to the Big 10 and Colorado to the Pac-12 in 2011. They also lost both Texas A&M and Missouri to the SEC in 2012. Well, training camp is finally here for the Kansas City Chiefs. The rookies, quarterbacks, and a few veterans reported late last week. Today, the rest of the veterans joined the team in St. Joe ahead of Wednesday's first full team practice. The team president Mark Donovan spoke to the media this afternoon about the excitement of being back in St. Joe and preparing for another Super Bowl run.
They're excited to be back. Obviously, when you kick off your 21 season, going for your 6th straight AFC West championship, your 3rd straight Lamar Hunt Trophy, and your 3rd straight Super Bowl appearance, there's a lot to be excited about. This team is excited about it, and I would tell you that our fan base is bouncing off the walls, getting ready, and we appreciate that. It's what makes us go, and it's what really keeps us going.
That's a look at sports. We're back with more news.
Take time now to honor a local veteran, Specialist Anthony Griffin. The Arcadia, Kansas native served in the U.S. Army, and we are proud to salute Specialist Anthony Griffin. He's tonight's 4-state hero. Hey, these two are the talk of the town in Fort Worth, Texas right now. The baby giraffes, newest addition to the Fort Worth Zoo, and will live in the African savanna habitat. According to zoo officials, the male calf was born in July 1st, at around 145 pounds, 6 feet tall. The female, born 10 days later, 132 pounds, a little over 5 feet tall. Quite a baby. The giraffes took their first steps on Friday. In a social media post, the zoo posted that they don't have names yet, but stay tuned. I'm sure they will get plenty of suggestions.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Probably have a contest.
Probably.
The weather's going to be hot for a while.
It is all week long. Temperatures mid to upper 90s. Heat indices well above 100 degrees. So that's why we have the alert days over the next 4 days.
Final sports notes.
Joplin Outlaws moving on to the Mink League South Division Championship. They will face Sedalia tomorrow night for a chance to play in the League Championship Series.
Wish them well. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget our morning show, and let's make it a great tomorrow.